thank you for joining us for Elko Live today. This is Wednesday's edition of our radio show. And today, in advance of the regular Elko County Commission meeting, we're featuring our Commissioner Jon Karr in studio. And Jon, in advance of today's meeting, well, I guess we have a few things to talk about today, so welcome to the program.
Well, yeah, since we were already talking about the election, and I'm like a giddy little kid today. That was fantastic. I'm just also glad there wasn't controversy. It was a done deal last night, not the 3, 4, 5 days later. I mean, Nevada's not 100% finished on the Senate race, and then there's 2, I think, state assembly that are still up for...
And that will determine, right,
the majority, the super majority. They still have the majority, but not a super majority.
And so Sam Brown is up by nearly 5,000 right now.
Correct.
Yeah, so that could go the way of the Republicans, and that would defeat Jackie Rosen. And that's unofficial. That's just what we're kind of tracking unofficially, waiting. Every vote counts, Jon, and that's has been talked about, that the Trump victory unofficially, of course, but the rurals would largely be responsible for that, meaning, and then also most likely for Sam Brown as well. So every vote counts.
That is a fantastic part. Whether you like Sam Brown or you like the other Democrat candidates, in this case, I'm Jackie or Masto a couple years ago or whatever, I wish people would look how close they are. And our votes here in Elko County do matter. I get sick of hearing that. Well, it doesn't really matter anyway. No, it's that close. It does matter.
In fact, I saw a fantastic analysis by the newly elected VP of the Elko County GOP, and that's Hank Thurston, and he's a professional researcher. I mean, he's a scientist, and he said, I believe if I'm recalling correctly, his summary, that with 14 votes per precinct, that's all it takes is to sway a huge election, right? Just 14 votes per precinct in Elko County. Would you have like 45 precincts, something like that?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's serious. I mean, those are votes right there.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it's disappointing when we don't have a higher. I'm glad the turnout this year, but I still would.
Did you
There's
see
no
it?
reason not to see it even higher.
78?
Yeah.
78%?
That's fantastic.
That is incredible. Becky was elated last night, our county clerk, and she was exhausted, but she was elated because that's their job, is to make sure people vote and that they feel comfortable voting and that the vote has integrity, and apparently it did because they ran the results within minutes of receiving them, and there you are. Nothing.
Yeah. I'll be up there when they do the certification, the double checks again in the next few days and stuff. But no, I didn't see any problems at all, and happy with the outcome.
So again, no surprises locally. Brian Gale will take a seat on the county commission alongside you guys to replace retiring Wildy Bruff. That was an interesting race because both are ranchers, and they were really, I think they were good to each other during the campaign. Jon, if I'm not being naive, but I thought they were pretty supportive.
Yeah, there was no
animosity.
The mudslinging or something like we got to see on the national level. No, we didn't have any of that. They were both gentlemen about it.
Yep. So the Republican, though, he got far more votes, obviously, than Democrat Jay Dalton. So, but good for Jay for putting his hat in the ring. I was just looking at the vote here. Yeah, Brian clearly almost 15,000 votes to Jay's almost 10,000. I'm sorry, to Jay's almost 5,000. So. Yeah, so big gap there. But again, typical for what kind of voter registration we have. But that turnout, again, 78%. Oh, and one thing, too, that I noticed on question 6, Jon, this is the question 6 that would protect abortion rights in the Nevada Constitution. Elko County came out for that, 9,357 yes votes. I mean, even though it was defeated locally, 10,702. I mean, that's pretty significant. It's not split.
I hadn't looked at the other questions. The only one I looked at was the ranked choice one, and that was defeated. Yeah,
that one went down, so statewide. And again, it's just sort of indicative that I think Elko County voters as a whole are, still have pretty independent minds when it comes to individual liberties, unless I'm reading too much into that.
I think so, and I've always thought that was rather... No, I'll be that harsh. Rather moronic of the Republicans back east and their anti-abortion stance and stuff. Why are they diving into that? But whatever.
We'll see where it goes.
There you go.
There are plenty of other things to be concerned about right now, right, Jon?
I think so, yeah. Exactly.
So moving on, you do have quite a few things on the agenda today with the commission meeting at 1:30 this afternoon, and it is a regular session. We can kind of skip over, get right into some of the meatier stuff. Oh, there will be some proclamations. One is for Elko County Veterans Day, and there will be a parade on Monday.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing more to add. Yep, you're right. We will have.
I was just adjusting your microphone a little bit.
Okay, no worries.
Yep, so that proclamation is coming up. And then in recognition of Lee Hoffman, it's hard to believe that Lee won't be sitting front and center at every county meeting as he was at city meetings.
Yeah, I was a little emotional last night about that. He would always have been as giddy as I was at the election results, and for him not to see that, especially how hard he works, is rather disturbing and disappointing. But I just thought extremely highly of the man, so I'll definitely miss him.
Lee Hoffman was chair of the Elko County GOP. In the last week of his life, he came on the radio on Monday with the chair of the Democrats of Elko County, and I thought it was just one of the best conversations we've ever had on this radio show. And they were talking about the questions, and there was quite a bit of agreement on some of those issues important to rural Nevada. And so I think that really underscored the generosity of Lee, not only in his role as chair of the Elko County Republican Party, certainly, but how he really wanted to foster unity and purpose in the community. He just wanted people to care and to be involved.
Oh, exactly. He truly cared about our community, loved it here, and wanted everything better. He really had no back pocket deals or side reason or anything. No, he just had a love for Elko and wanted to see it better.
So he'll be recognized. I'm sure Lynn, well, if she can be, she'll be at the meeting this afternoon. So
I hope so. She looked great last night. She obviously got to be extremely painful, but she was showing it well.
And that was at the watch party, right?
Correct.
Okay. I think about 400 people turned out for his celebration of life. I think at the Elko Convention Center. I mean, maybe that's just a rough count, but a guesstimate. Yeah, there were.
That's about what I heard too.
Yeah, so very well, and people came from all over the state for that. So there'll be an ask, I guess, if you will, financial support for the upcoming Wendover air races from Tooele County Councilman, and I believe that's on the Utah side. That's interesting, right?
Well, Wendover's that weird that the airport is right there, and even part of it is in Elko County, but overall they call it in Tooele County. But no, trying to move the Reno air races to there, and I don't know how many meetings ago we declared that I thought it'd be a great idea. We're just trying to figure out the logistics of it, of how many people, because that's even a lot for Wendover. So would they stay in Elko? Would they stay in Salt Lake? But yes, we're supportive, but I don't really know what money he's asking for. I haven't heard a dollar amount or anything yet.
And you know,
the rec board will probably look at this.
Right. Elko County Rec Board? It's this county city rec board.
Correct.
Okay. And unless I'm way off base, but I didn't know that Wendover was still on the short list for relocating that event. So, but he'll obviously update us.
Correct.
Okay. So the Elko Convention and Visitors Authority will present, in fact, this is the cooperative interlocal agreement that loans the convention center $3 million for 10 years at an interest rate of 1% per year. And that's a good deal, right, John?
I think so. That I'm glad the facility was built. It was obviously built too small in the kitchen and a couple of oddities, but overall it's been a great facility. It was just a horrible package of how they did it, but this will help them get out from underneath that and move forward. Yeah,
that huge balloon payment and that really quirky pay to rent the facility back every month, that was a sweet deal for those investors, wasn't it?
Exactly. It's quite strange.
Yeah.
Once again, even the legislature, after reading that, outlawed those kind of wonderful contracts.
How sad that Elko had to be the example for what not to do.
Exactly.
You know, how embarrassing.
Yep.
Yeah, well, those are the days gone by. That's and thank you to Annette Kerr, Executive Director, for picking up the pieces and moving on, and for commissioners for having the confidence in that agreement. That's important. There's going to be an update from the sheriff's office. Not so much, on the fence. Obviously, they have to replace the drive-through gates. A couple of quotes on that. One at $86,000, one at $210,000. The budget was $80,000.
Yeah, I'm not sure if one of them was gold-plated or titanium.
What the difference is.
That's quite the difference, but yeah, we'll have to get it fixed. No big deal.
So in talking to Sheriff Aitor Narvaeza last week on the radio show, John, he did talk about he's looking forward to a jail expansion groundbreaking, and that would be in the spring?
That's what we're still looking at, but there's still a lot of pieces to that puzzle, but yes.
Okay. He thinks it'll be about 7 or 8 million. Do we have any architects rendering back on that?
That's just it. There's still a lot of pieces to finalize and everything. So, no, that'll be coming shortly.
Okay. It will be on an agenda, though. Okay. So that's something to look forward to. Let's see. We'll move on unless anything jumps out. Juvenile detention and probation, the reason we don't talk about them basically is because, I mean, they're doing a great job. There's nothing really outstanding as far as...
Heather and her group do a great job.
Yeah, they do a great job.
It's one of those things I wish we didn't have to have that group, but
yeah,
realistically we do, and they do the job they should.
And they're going to present a detailed report, which is attached, by the way. I mean, I guess we could do a separate show on what is driving any kind of juvenile crime. I think status crimes are largely what has been committed from what I just kind of glancing over the reports, right?
Right.
Yeah, nothing... I guess long story short is that we would be talking about juvenile crime if it were a big issue in Elko County, but it doesn't
Correct,
seem to be.
and I don't see it as much as we used to. So I think kids are just too lazy to even break the law. They're just at home on video games. I don't know, but whatever. But it doesn't seem to be as big a deal.
And there are serious social issues with teenagers. That's also something that is worth mentioning, whether it's mental health issues, certainly, or being unhoused, or just not, having proper care. That's always important too. So, Elko County, unless there's anything that jumps out on the roll log, I think that's just a usual report. It's required every year. Any changes made on the tax roll?
No, nothing really there.
And under Public Works, this revocable license for the Wine Cup Gamble Ranch, so they can access the Southline water system for cattle? We're
still in the works of them buying that ancient line from us. But it hasn't finalized yet, so they're hoping to do this to basically lease it for a little bit till that all gets finalized. It'll be their pipeline anyway, and they do what they want.
Okay. Nothing new to report there. And then under Natural Resources, our Assistant County Manager, Curtis Moore, will likely give an update on the scoping comment opportunity to suggest a study on the antelope and triple B herd management plans for wild horse gather, right?
I'm curious still where that's going to go, and quite honestly, with this election, and somebody will say, well, what's the connection? No, we'll see a difference with the Trump administration in office in the next 6 to 8 months.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to just take on the horses. Yeah. I mean, they'd be foolish not to. I mean, it's such a huge political issue. And
it is, and the only one I've really seen do anything effective is actually Senator Masto. Just went no horse slaughtering, but yes, we need to remove some of them. There's too many they're not being managed, and it's millions to house them. So she's been the only elected official I've seen that actually came and actually seemed to care and go, no, there is a problem here. But that's only one person. But if the Trump administration and they kind of get along, maybe we can finally have some kind of management plan.
Well, what's going to be huge and indicative is who he appoints as the interior official.
Correct.
So that's everybody's going to be waiting for that. And that has a lot to do too with the Supreme Court. Obviously, this is the time, if any time was ever right, to hear this resolution from Utah. Actually, it's their lawsuit. And Elko County, I thought Elko County had already signed on to this, so I guess I'm mistaken. But this amicus brief, John, I think there's already been discussion supporting this American Land Council's action. They're hoping the Supreme Court rules so that they can turn over all the unappropriated public lands in the western states back to the states.
Well, that's kind of the long theory, but I think this is one of those, anything government is 10 times more bureaucracy than that. So even if the Utah were to win, it's not instantly all BLM and Forest Service land become Utah now. So I'm still going to throw the guess out that this will be years down the road anyway, but I could be obviously corrected and could be wrong on that.
It is a landmark public lands lawsuit filed in August of this year. The Supreme Court is being asked to address whether the federal government can constitutionally hold unappropriated lands within a state indefinitely. So there's a big legal question there, John. And it does not include, at least Utah's lawsuit does not include public lands designated as national parks, national monuments, wilderness areas, national forests, tribal lands, or military properties. So you may ask yourself, well, what's left? Well, there's a lot of undesired ground. So why does Nevada or Utah want it? It's a liability.
Well,
It's a fire risk.
But it's also an interesting task working with the BLM, even though locally ours is totally bizarre that both of our BLM and Forest Service local are fantastic people and we have a great relationship. So, but truly the national level, they can be extremely difficult to work with. So maybe that's the hope. I don't know. I've even said this in a meeting, be careful what you wish for, because we're a Democrat dominated state. And so if the state did take those lands, that basically means Vegas is going to control them. I've said that in public meeting, and I could be wrong, but be careful what you wish for.
Well, plus there's this other missed opportunity, and this was long before you were on the county commission. Sherry Eklund Brown was a commissioner. John Ensign was our U.S. Senator. We had an opportunity to create the counterpart to the Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act. And that would have given the authority to the BLM to include Elko County anytime that lands came up for auction, for disposal. Elko County, as well as the State Education Fund, would be included. And Southern Nevada has literally received millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, John, as a result of Southern, it's known as SNPLMA. And Elko County Commissioner said, no, we don't want to do that with the federal government. So what's the difference here?
Well, I wasn't on there and I wasn't that familiar with that, but I think you're correct. Well, so I can't really even comment.
It's just crazy. It is crazy because they would have handled all the paperwork of it. First of all, the bureaucracy. I mean, there's still a system that you have to, I mean, it's just going to be outrageous to think. Plus all these desirable lands that are already held, even in Elko County, they're all beautiful ranches. They're held by people that don't even live here. I mean, we know that. We've seen this, right, with the proposed ski resort out in the Ruby Mountains. That's not a local person that owns that ranch. Nobody local can afford it, or they would have bought it. So
no, you're probably right about that. I wouldn't say all of them, but a great percentage is getting sold off to people with big wallets.
And being subdivided in places like Spring Creek and at the base of the Ruby Mountains, and they're zoned to do it. So anyway, Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act. Look it up. We could have had a Northern Nevada Public Lands Management Act, or Northeast Nevada. Maybe they didn't like the acronym. I don't know, but that's ridiculous. We should have done that.
Once again, I can't comment. I was
Sherry Eklund Brown wanted to do that.
Wait, I don't think you're wrong. I just don't have the history behind it myself.
And then they replaced her with somebody on the commission, I think, for her trying to do the right thing. Yeah, she was not. She didn't get elected the next time around. Crazy, huh?
Well, once again, I wasn't paying attention much back then.
That's okay. You were starting up your businesses, John. Okay, so what else is on the agenda? We're just trying to make people aware of these things because these are facts.
Well, one of the things that's going to be discussed that I've brought up is the pay for elected officials.
Oh, okay, that is on the agenda.
Now, as I'm bringing it up in this meeting, I'm not requesting we give them a pay raise or a set amount or anything else. I'm simply want to get the feel for the board that it's a priority and to move forward with staff to make recommendations to the legislature to give wording that we should be able to, if needed, be able to give elected officials a raise. Right now, our DA and our sheriff, and I'm not pushing for the commissioners, but even the commissioners haven't got a raise since I've been on there 8 years, which I really don't care if I get a raise or not. But the recorder, the treasurer's office, all of those haven't had raises in years. So I think if it's warranted, the county should be able to give them a raise. But currently, state statute doesn't allow it. So that's the wording I want to present to the county, that how should we present that somehow we should be able to, or even reasonably within set limits. Like we can't have, let's say the current rate's 100,000. We can't have twice the current level or 3 times or some number, but we can have plus or minus. I don't know the exact wording, but I think we should still have that leeway, especially if we did a class comp study for the whole county and all of its employees of basically what should they be making. But our elected officials would fit into those niches, but currently the state doesn't allow it. So that's why I'm bringing this up, and I'd like to submit it as a BDR, a bill draft resolution, or we just go ahead and give them raises and see what the state does.
Interesting conversation. So in many counties across the state, the agenda item says elected officials receive less compensation than their subordinate employees. So that obviously would be something that doesn't motivate people.
Well, yeah, why would I want to be the boss but yet make less? I mean, I get the headache, but...
Well, and here's the thing. people listening may be surprised to learn that Elko County commissioners get a salary and get benefits and get retirement. They get health insurance. And I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying that's the reality. Whereas some people say, but we don't want professional politicians. We want citizen elected officials, right? So,
Well, now that, okay.
Okay.
School board and city council and commissioners all get paid, and all get health benefits. As far as I know, they're also set up in PERS, so public retirement. Now, the commissioners make the most. I think I make 30 and
33 or something.
Well, that's
plus.
just 30. But either way,
Okay.
I haven't looked. It hasn't changed in 8 years since I've been on there. And I think it was 5 or 6 when I was a school board member. And I've never looked, but I want to say city council's 8 to 12 and the mayor's 15 or 18 or something. But once again, that's a rumor. I can't verify. That's just what I thought I heard years ago.
I think
so.
the
That's
mayor
the
was,
ballpark around where they're at.
Mayor was like $750, and maybe it has been increased since, but it was like $750 a month is what we're talking about. So you're right. I mean, and then $400 or something for city council. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very, so arguably that kind of compensation could be described as covering expenses, for holding elected office. But 30 grand, that's some people listening right now live on 30 grand a year. So, for them, it would be a full-time job.
Well, part of a draft that's going through is talking about Washoe and Clark actually having their commissioners, and I don't know if their city council not being full-time paid positions. One of the Senate Democrats is trying to push that through. And so we're trying to go through Bert Gurr on the House side, go, well, once again, wait a minute, I'm not trying to set a limit, and I'm not trying to have paid professional elected officials, but county should have at least some way to be able to give them compensation if it's needed. And once again, a DA, a sheriff, the treasurer, recorder's office, clerk, any of those, we technically can't give a raise to right now.
And I think we just had a Nevada Supreme Court ruling, John, that said you can have a job and be in the legislature, even if it's a job such as working for an entity that is funded by the Nevada legislature, as long as you're not an administrator in that. So interesting.
They did that with teachers, but I don't remember if they can be like a state or county employee do it as well. I don't remember, but you're right. It was in front of the courts, and it's kind of shocking, but yet nobody runs, so I don't know. You got to have...
Well, and what's the definition of a citizen legislature? We only meet every other year, and right. So, and most of the people are often the people that can hold those positions. They have to be able to afford to leave their jobs for months and months and travel to every far part of the state. And yeah,
I mean, if you're a legislator in Carson or Reno area, obviously it's not a big deal. But no, anywhere else, and especially Elko is, I think, the worst because it goes all the way down to the Pahrump area. So your area is, I mean. Poor Pete, I guarantee you put millions of miles on his truck being a legislator for Nevada.
Yeah, and just talking to Bert Gurr recently, I mean, he's always on the road. So that'll be an interesting discussion coming back on that to see, again, how the community feels. I mean, like you said, to increase elected official salaries. And it would be people, as you said, who do this full time, the treasurer, the county clerk, obviously, the assessor.
DA, exactly.
The DA could make so much more money in private practice.
Oh, especially as talented as ours one is that word? Especially as talented as ours is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, yes, this is part of the reason I was concerned about it as well. And our legislature kind of talks about it and then dawdles and does nothing. So I'm trying to hit a two approach through Bert and then also on our side.
All right. So that is a Jon Karr initiative when it comes up for discussion. And
which I want to once again clarify, in no way am I trying to get the county commissioners a raise. I'm not trying to get the city councilman a raise or the school district ones a raise. If that happens through the legislature, I'm not writing the bill. I'm not doing any of that. So I know how information seems to be out there.
Well,
this is truly for our 100% full-time paid positions that's their job full-time, and we can't give them a comparable salary what they would be making if they're one step beneath.
Well, maybe there could be a carve-out then if you're that sincere about it. I'm not challenging. I'm just saying
No, I guarantee somebody will come on Facebook or whatever, and then I'm trying to give myself a raise, and that's not the case here.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the radio because this is a conversation. Facebook is not a conversation. So thanks, John. We appreciate that. I wanted to back up to, it's right here on the agenda. This is the Spring Creek Secondary Access Feasibility Study, which I thought the study was already authorized, underway, but now we're getting the bill for the study. Is that what's happening? Or?
That's my understanding too, but I haven't talk that much on it as well. I haven't been part of this committee.
Okay, so a committee apparently convened as approved by county commissioners. They had their project kickoff meeting sometime in October to set up who the stakeholders will be, the county, the city, Spring Creek Association, RTC, NDOT, et cetera, to meet emergency services to ensure route accommodations to serve as a secondary access, so between Elko and Spring Creek. That's the main goal, and I think this was Delmo Andriozzi's initiative a few months ago.
Kind of a Rex and a Delmo combined,
okay.
Yes.
So the summary for the cost for the tasks, this isn't for actually any, well, let's see, it does say site survey, mapping, and legal documentation that would be done in January of next year, April of 2025 would be the feasibility study documents. And then, anyway, there's some documents in here and some mapping and legal documentation. The total cost is $207,640.
Well, one of the things that I think this would be very difficult to do until we do a master plan of that valley, the Spring Creek Valley, to go, where are we expanding to? If we head towards O'Neill Basin, or will that be east? I guess more northeast, or we head towards South Fork. Where are we expanding to? And that makes a big difference where we're trying to.
Did you say O'Neill Basin?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, okay.
Burner Basin, excuse me.
Thank you. Yeah.
Burner
Spring
Basin.
Creek, between
Okay.
Spring Creek and
As
Elko.
soon as I said, wait a minute, that's the wrong one. Anyway, where are we expanding to? What's the plan out there?
Exactly.
Because if all of a sudden we go all the way out to South Fork, well, then it would make more sense to have a secondary somewhere west of town. And if we end up going the other direction, Burner Basin, it'd be advantageous to go east of town. So I've said that for years now, and I think we're starting to make progress on it because of some of this controversy out in Lamoille on those land proposals out there as well. Going, well, wait a minute, what does our build out look like? Why aren't we working with the city that we're trying to build out Spring Creek? We try to build up Fifth Street. We trying to continue going out Bullion. How many more houses can we have out there? What's our plan?
And that is a recurring question. We saw that was most evident during the recent Planning Commission meetings, John, that you really nailed it. What is Elko County's master plan? As it's been described in these public meetings and by concerned citizens, it's outdated, but we have hundreds and hundreds of homes proposed for Spring Creek Valley, not in the homeowners association, but adjacent to it. And then we have the proposed ski resort, which it's got the community divided. It has its fans, it does. And it has its, obviously, people that would never want to see the Rubies developed in that way. But just recently, we see that Hamilton Stage is being expanded. Those are the homes, like you mentioned, out on Bullion Road, right?
Correct.
And that impacts the city a lot, right? With traffic, and Bullion Road is not adequate as it is. And
you're exactly right there. So should the secondary be more towards the Carlin tunnels and somewhere there to take off over the hill there? Once again, I don't know, but that's part of this study in my mind of where are we expanding and where should that road be.
All right. So that'll be probably talked about today. I know I need to send you downtown soon, so you're not late for the meeting, but that'll be on the agenda. Again, this is described as a request for proposals for a feasibility study regarding roadways connected to SR 227. And so I'm sure that will be discussed. Tom Hannum is the engineer, and he's also been presenting on some of those proposed developments out in Spring Creek. So he's obviously got a lot of working knowledge for what's being looked at right now. But that, I think the community really has to know what the plan is.
Correct. But then as for the ski resort, Amanda and her office have been in talks with to try to get a hold of that individual. So I'm hoping Delmo or Rex or myself and Amanda and Curtis go out there and truly go, well, wait a minute. All we've seen is all we've heard is rumors, misinformation. What exactly is he hoping to do up the canyon on it? Because there's two parcels. He has the part that goes slightly up the canyon, and then there's a parcel down below.
Now, be careful when you say canyon, because it's not Lamoille Canyon.
No, it's not Lamoille. It's the canyon over.
Yes.
But anyway, that's what I wanted 100%. Where would they be if you'd wanted to do a ski resort? How many lifts? Where would they be? What exactly are you envisioning? So we're trying to get that up because I would rather be able to present to the county and be able to answer some of these questions out there of going, because there's also Braemar's has a small subdivision they're trying to expand, and there's a lot of confusion of those being a combined project, and they're not. They're two separate individuals. So that's why I'm hoping to meet with that individual and get all this information, and we can hand that out, give it out, or be able to answer those questions.
Well, in fact, John, the County Planning Commission rejected Dusty Ship's proposed subdivision, so it seems as though it will be automatically kicked up to you guys for your
Correct.
consideration, and that's huge.
And so now I'll be meeting with Dusty to go out there as well, because I would like to drive around and know exactly what we're talking about, and then meet with our building department, go, what's the zoning, I'll get to ask that question again. What are the zone regulations? And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, a lot of work ahead of us, right?
There you go.
All right, John. Thank
So
you
I
so
make the
much.
whopping $30,000. Remember?
Well, but look at you get the honor and the glory. And as we talked about, when I retire eventually, I don't know, but if I like to be able to look around and say, this is a community that we helped create, right? We have so much to be proud of. We have great people who live here. They want to be here. We have a higher education system. We have beautiful art, and we have wonderful roads and some pretty cool amenities that we managed to get together on, right? Wouldn't that be the best?
Well, I certainly hope so.
I do too.
After I left the school board, I really did some soul searching. Go, well, what did I accomplish? And I think anybody does that after years on any job. Well, what exactly did I accomplish? What I do right, what I do wrong, what could I have done better? So no, I'm hoping after this last term on the commission, I do the same thing, and I'm hoping there's some things I can name. We'll see how that goes.
All right, John. Well, we'll have lots more conversations because we appreciate you coming on the radio to have them. The County Commission meets in regular session, 1:30 today here downtown Elko in the County Courthouse meeting room. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today.